All right, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the booth. Thank you for joining us again on this special Tuesday night Eternal for our November Expedition Challenge. We have finished up the first 3 rounds of Switch, which means this is the most exciting round of Swiss here. This is the last round, right before we do our cut to the top 4. So we do have the result of that last round. It looked like Hoyt-the-Mage took it over Bardeen 2-1. So Bardeen couldn't quite get there with their mill deck. They had a good run there at the end, but it looked like Hoyt-the-Mage did land a Kairos towards the end there and was able to push through the final damage there. So what I'm going to flip to here is the standings currently. Remember, this is the cut to top 4 here. So we've set the top 4 players after this round will be in. So Captain Team Bro will be in for sure, sitting at 3-0. Even if they lose, it'll be 3-1. Remember, there are no intentional draws here. So Captain Team Bro will be in at 3-1. So then you're looking at the next 5 players at 2-1. We'll be competing for 3 slots here. And then the tiebreaker is going to be the opponent's win percentage. So you can see that looks like Loco Pojo and Hoyt have the best tiebreakers for now, but those will change based on the last round. So it looks like Bard will have the bye here. So Bard's going to go ahead and finish out with a bye, and they're going to be out of here. And they're going to be out because they won't have another round. They'll end at 2-2. So you're looking at these slots 2 to 6. 3 of those 5 players will be into the top 4. Alrighty. Thanks, John Holio. Absolutely, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm glad you get to hang out and watch. And yeah, thank you to Jedi for hosting with us tonight. Always welcome here on the stream, and really appreciate his help.
Yeah, it's great to be here. I enjoy it. Anything that I can do to support the Eternal community and other content creators, I am more than happy to do. I think it's a ton of fun. We have a great community here, and I like kind of what's the word I'm looking for? To help develop it, so to speak. And I think everyone is slowly but surely, even across different formats and stuff, we're starting to become a more and more tight-knit group. So I think it's really important for us to just kind of help each other out. And let's just be honest, like the more we interact with each other, it's a win-win for everyone. More stuff for people to spectate, more stuff for competitive players to do an organized play and stuff like that. So I think it's great. So thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, so let's see here. While our players are getting ready here to start for this next round here. So let's see we have a 3-0 at Captain Team Bro. Now I believe Team Bro was on Cambrai, I believe. Was he on the Cambrai aggro deck?
Correct.
Let's see if we can pull that 3-0 deck list up here when we have a chance. While our players are getting settled here.
The one that's running 10 plus finest hours, apparently.
Yeah. All right, so here's the deck that's 3-0 right now. So this is a Cambrai aggro deck. As we just mentioned, yes, 4 copies of Finest Hour, 4 copies of Armory's Choice, and we saw a lot of those being cast, as well as Curse of... Now, 4 of Curse of Taxation. What do you think of that choice there? The Curse player has -1 maximum power.
Yeah, so it's typically... I mean, this is like, even in draft, I don't take it because of that, but I mean... In a format where some people are trying to get to 6 and trying to get to 9, it actually might do a little bit of work, considering, I mean, a 3-3-4-4 is really not what an aggressive Cambrai deck wants, but I mean, it's interesting tech because sometimes putting someone down a turn is enough, and even 2 turns if they get Rent Seeker as well as Curse going. Like, I can see what they're going for. I don't know if I would be bold enough to do that kind of strategy because, obviously drawing that late just does absolutely nothing for you. But I mean, I can see where they're going with it, Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, Borderlands Lookout. We haven't talked too much about Borderlands Lookout tonight, but that's another new one from Flame of Zolta here, which doesn't look too impressive when you first look at it, but actually plays out pretty well. So it's a 1 power 0/1, but it gets +1/+1 for each type of influence the player has. So in almost every scenario, it's at least a 1 mana 2/3. Which is pretty impressive to have a 1 mana 2/3, just stats on its own. But then if you do manage to face a 3 influence deck, then it's a 1 mana 3/4, which is completely broken. But pretty powerful card. Just playing out a 1 mana 1/2 or 1 mana 2/3 right off the bat is a pretty good start followed up by the rest of your heavy hitting units, can just be a real way to put a stop to the aggro decks, like against Matioka's type deck, to just have a 1-mana 2/3 blocker is really powerful. And then to make something that has to be dealt with to help clear the way for your the rest of your units coming through can be really powerful. And then you know what a 1-mana 2/3 or a 1-power 2/3 holds pretty well is a +3/+3 from a Finest Hour and Omri's Choice.
Yeah, very true. And of note, Amri's choice is quite the versatility of this card is actually I'm very impressed with the choices this cycle. I feel like they did a really good job of balancing them, so none of them are broken, but they're all relevant because of both sides of the text box. And obviously, the +3/+3 is great. You're paying an extra power for Overwhelm, but in a deck that wants to get in there and get their opponent dead as quickly as possible, a lot of times the Overwhelm is so relevant because it just takes the whole chump block aspect out of the equation.
Absolutely. Okay, well, let's go down to the action here. We've got PapaCapricorn versus Hoyt-the-Mage. Now, remember, both of these players are at 2-1, so this is a winning in and losing you're out. This is all or nothing here to get into the top 4. Whoever wins this match will get into the top 4. Whoever loses is very likely out of the matchup here. So PapaCapricorn's got a pretty good start here. They've got a Varret and they've got a Kozin here with a number of other things in hand. Now, they are stuck at 2 power for now, but they do have the Seek Answers in there to help with that if they need to.
Yeah, so do you deploy the Teething Whelp or the Varret? Do you try to take a card off the top of your deck with the Treasure Trove, or do you just play the Seek Power to guarantee you set up the Caleb's Persuader next turn?
That's a tough choice. I could see a lot of different ways. I would probably say the Seek Answers just to make sure that I can play, because even if it's not the Caleb's Persuader, I want to be able to play either a 4-drop or I want to play 2 2-drops for sure. I don't want to be at 3 power next turn. I think that's the worst thing you could do, is be at 3 power next turn when you don't have that. So I think you fire that off here and just make sure that you can make 2 plays or the Persuader the following turn.
And leaving only 1 power up for Hoyt-the-Mage, Capricorn decides this is the window they have. So they put the Caleb's Persuader on the Varret, immediately triggering the Mastery. So turning it over to, of course, once again, the Aegis version and getting in there, triggering the Mastery for 7. So next turn, we're going to see a huge Varret the Wise. That card just runs away with the game so easily. You have one good turn with that thing, and it almost feels like it's game over.
Well, and that Aegis is really crucial here because we've got Shenra Speaks in hand for Hoyt-the-Mage, but that Shenra Speaks is not going to take care of that 7/7.
Yep, but they have to. They're just up against the wall. They have no other choice because chump blocking it isn't going to do much. You're still going to take a bunch of damage from the other units. So
Yep.
Sure enough, we see the Shenra Speaks come down. We're going to see. I mean, Hoyt-the-Mage is not dead yet, but like you said, it might be that scenario what you were talking about earlier, where we're going to see 2 threats come down for PapaCapricorn. And now man, I really don't see a way Hoyt-the-Mage can come out from this.
I mean, you're going to have to deal with the 12/12, and then if PapaCapricorn just follow up with 2 other units, there's not a board wipe that's going to take care of those. You don't have another, and I guess they could pull a Shenra Speaks off the top.
Yeah, but I think you can't play it conservative here in this position where they're at 5. You really want to make sure you can get it in the head.
Agreed. And not really much they can do. They can flash in I guess you can flash in a Scorpion Wasp to take care of the 12/12 and go to 1. I guess that's the plan here. You've also got a Kairos' Choice, so I guess you can play a Scorpion Wasp and a Kairos' Choice here. So they can take care of actually 2 of the units in this case.
Yeah, we'll see if PapaCapricorn decides to fire off the Jackknife here, potentially triggering the Mastery. They do. Goes on the Teething Whelp, which I think is kind of correct because it actually diversifies the threats. You don't want to put Teething Whelp is probably the weakest card out of the 3. Ooh,
oh, wow,
interesting.
And not even attacking with the 12/12. Interesting.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay, so we see a Kairos Choice taking out the Varret, and then let's see if we're going to see something else on this Teething Whelp.
They're going to play out the Wasp.
Yeah.
Yeah, going to play out the Wasp, keeping the 12 back. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess heads up play on PapaCapricorn. I mean, the Exalted trigger on it makes me feel like I'd be a little more willing to swing with it, but at the same time, they might just value having 2 additional units in their hand, So I think that probably in the long run is going to be the payoff play because Hoyt was in a position where they had to react, and so they're going to use the resources in their hand, and now you're still stuck with the 12/12 on the board.
Mm-hmm. And they're going to go to the market, trade out that Treasure Trove for an Edict to take care of any unit that Hoyt plays here, take out any blocker.
Man, I really want to see Hoyt-the-Mage's deck go off, but I feel like this is such an aggressive tournament right now. This deck is just a little too slow, or at least on camera.
Yep, the Edicts can take care of one of the units, and that's going to go ahead and put Hoyt to lethal.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, Varret, man, just doing some work. I still haven't crafted 4 of them, but I think I'm about to because that card just seems to like sometimes you just oops, I win, you know?
Well, and as we said before, it being colorless, it can fit into so many different decks that you're not stuck with it in one deck there.
Yeah, very interesting to see if that like you kind of don't you still see it in decks that want to capitalize and build a strategy around it, either with pump spells or weapons that trigger additional damage. But I mean, a 2/3 for 2 is always good, and like you said, it goes in every color with just bonus upside if you draw it late. So I'm a little surprised actually you don't see it kind of be not maybe an auto clued, but maybe just tier 1, like still tier 1 2-drop for decks that are like, all right, what are my 2-drops like?
Yeah.
Is it better than Varret? No? All right, Varret goes in instead.
It's true. Especially, I mean, if you're leaning aggressively. I mean, even in a defensive deck, you can probably still play it, but I think maybe it's a little bit more of an auto include in the more aggressive focusing decks. All right, so game 2 here. PapaCapricorn taking game 1. A much less aggressive hand for PapaCapricorn here. With you got your Seek Power, your Seek Answers, and then you've got an Incarnus on 4 and an Eclipse Dragon on 5, but really nothing happening until then. They're going to grab a non-power from the Seek Answers, and they're going to grab a Varret off of that.
I mean, this seems to be a pretty decent curve out here for Papa. If they're able to deploy and then get that Caleb. Oh, well, there they go. So now they're able to go 4/5, which is just fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the nice thing about Caleb's Persuader as well is once this deck gets up to 5-6 power, they're able to kind of fuel the smuggler here. Ooh, interesting. Do you think PapaCapricorn deploys the Slumbering Stone just to have additional blocker at like 2 additional blockers, or do you think they go ahead and just send that to the market since their power they want to kind of get up to 6 power?
Yeah, that's a good question. I could see tossing it for sure. They have plenty of other good things to do in their hand. All right, play that here. Play the Persuader.
Yep, sadly, just shy of getting mastery, just shy, which is a little awkward. But yep, sure enough, there's the answer. PapaCapricorn wanting to put as many threats on the board as possible to, or at least chump blockers to stop like free damage in there. Interesting to see what Hoyt-the-Mage gets here. Like I said, I mean, yeah, it's tough. It's tough to try to go to the market this early sometimes. Oh, but there we go. Clean Edict of Kodash, taking out the Incarnus in more ways than one. Not only killing it, but also silencing it. So it's no longer a value engine.
Yep, absolutely. But Papa going to play out the Eclipse Dragon here and keep the beats on. And Hoyt is down to 13 already with that Eclipse Dragon and on the board. Now, Hoyt does have 2 Scorpion Wasps, so it does have ways to take care of that.
Well, no, because Dragon has quick draw.
Yep, it does. You're right. It has quick draw. So scratch that. It does have quick draw. Now, 2 Smugglers in hand may need to go. Can pull a different answer from the market.
See, and this is always so there still is a little bit of tension here because of the fact that now Hoyt is going to be able to start activating Ramba should they not have anything to play, but then that's also going to eat up all their power for the turn, so they're not able to leave up Scorpion Wasp. So there's some card advantage, but at a cost here.
Yeah, well, that seems like the type of play where after you've deployed all the threats or most of the threats from your hand, it just gives you card advantage later in the game. When you have other good things to do in your hand, you don't need to be running that. But
see, and I think there's an argument there for that because the threats you have in your hand are guaranteed, and yes, it's kind of iffy what you're getting off the top of your deck, but you run the risk of the longer you wait to activate Ramba, the higher the chances of your opponent finding something to get it off the board, and then you get no card advantage from it. So I think there's a tension there, and that's one of the reasons why I like those kinds of cards where they force you to make a educated guess and not just, oh yes, I automatically do this every time.
That's very true. And look at this synergy here. Being able to use the Malediction to actually take care of the Slumbering Stone and turn it into a 2/2 flyer to give another flying attacker for PapaCapricorn. Not only clearing Hoyt's board, but also getting another flyer out of the deal here.
Oh, this is awesome here. Seeing some additional synergy. So now getting the trigger off of the Caleb Persuader, not only giving them a power to
Very
play, but
nice.
also reducing everything in their hand by 1. And then no blocks from PapaCapricorn means they took 7, triggering Ramba again, dropping everything in their hand by 2 cost this turn.
Yeah,
So
trigger
some
Ramba
additional
twice.
synergy there.
Very nice to be able to trigger that twice. We've seen a lot of synergy with Caleb Persuader tonight. We've seen it on Ramba. We've seen it on the other master units. It definitely has some good synergy, I feel like, in this format.
Yeah, I run it in my Oni deck, so you're able to put it on the Shogun where it makes 2 Oni Ronin a turn instead of 1. It's absolutely awesome.
Good. Close matchup here right now. The Eclipse Dragon. Now Hoyt got another Scorpion Mage from the market, which, as you pointed out, because the dragon has quick draw, neither of these Scorpion Mages can actually trade with the Eclipse Dragon. Can take care of the 2/2 flyer.
That being said, they could still chump block. So, they're not completely useless, but obviously you would like for them to trade.
Yeah, and then another Scorpion Wasp off the top. So 2 more Scorpion Wasp in hand. So the last 3 cards have all been Scorpion Wasp for Hoyt. But starting to get a little worried here. They can chump block and buy some time, but he is going to need to find a name. He's either going to need to kill PapaCapricorn before running out of Scorpion Wasp to chump, or find a different answer for that Eclipse Dragon, which he does not have right now.
Ooh, carve it off the
too.
top. Man, that's going to make it really tough for Hoyt-the-Mage here, considering that potentially all 3 of the units on the board are going to have flying. So let's see how they block with these wasps.
Gonna fire off one to chump block here.
Yeah, sure enough. I just don't think they can afford it. And then we saw it right there, see, where they're not able to activate Ramba and having to leave up 6 power.
And you know what? I was
Oh.
going to comment on why Hoyt-the-Mage did not grab Shenra Speaks from the market when they had a chance to 2 turns ago, but if you notice, they only have a single Justice Influence, so they would not be able to actually cast Shenra Speaks. I wonder if that's why. I wonder if they recognized they didn't have the influence and just said, you know what, I'm not gonna risk my game on maybe drawing a Justice Influence, because they actually can't cast the Shenra Speaks when they had a chance to, because they don't have the influence for it.
Yeah, it's tough. It's the price you pay for having triple influence. Sometimes it works out in your favor, and sometimes it doesn't. You're able to play more powerful cards overall as a deck, but sometimes you lose to your own influence requirements. Yeah, see, and then once again, not able to activate Ramba, trying to look for answers.
And that's gonna do it. And was that 2-0 for PapaCapricorn? I believe it was.
Yes, I believe so.
All right, and that was actually a very